Hello, writers and readers. I'm freelance fiction editor Miranda Darrow, here with my weekly video about writing, editing, and the writing life. It's a new month, so we're ready to talk about a new genre, or rather, an old genre that's finding a new audience. This month, we're talking about Westerns, spurred on by the popularity of TV series like Yellowstone, Longmire, Joe Pickett, Outer Range, and Dark Winds. So let's talk about writing Western novels for today's market with some tropes, settings, and writing tips. The Western genre has long been associated with dusty trails, rugged cowboys, and frontier justice, but today's market demands more than just six-shooters and saloon brawls. Contemporary Westerns reflect evolving storytelling trends, incorporating complex characters, nuanced themes, and diverse perspectives, while still embracing the wide-open landscapes and timeless struggles that define the genre. Whether you're writing a traditional Western, a contemporary cowboy romance, or a gritty neo-Western, understanding the core elements of the genre will help your novel resonate with today's readers. Let's talk about some classic Western tropes and how they evolve. Western novels, like all genres, are built on recognizable tropes. The key is knowing how to use them and keep them fresh and engaging ways. One trope is the lone hero. A solitary gunslinger or lawman is a staple of the genre. But modern Westerns give these characters more emotional depth. They may still be tough, but they're also wrestling with personal demons, loss, or even a changing world that no longer needs their brand of justice. An example for this is News of the World by Paulette Giles, reimagining the wandering gunslinger as an aging newsreader escorting a young girl through a post-Civil War Texas. Another trope is the rugged frontier. The landscape itself is frequently a character in Westerns, whether it's the harsh desert, the sweeping plains, the mountainous wilderness. Today's Westerns often explore themes of environmental change, land disputes, and the clash between tradition and progress. An example, How Much of These Hills is Gold by C. Pam Zhang, rethinks the Western myth through the eyes of two orphan Chinese-American siblings navigating the 19th century American frontier. Another trope is outlaws and lawmen. Justice is often a gray area in Western. A traditional good versus evil dichotomy has evolved into stories where outlaws can be heroes and lawmen can be corrupt. This moral complexity adds to the genre. Example, The Sisters Brothers by Patrick DeWitt turns the classic bounty hunter story into a darkly comic character study. Another trope is the town with a secret. Whether it's a mining town, a railroad boom town, or a sleepy ranching community, the town itself often hides corruption, greed, or lawlessness behind its surface. Thus, setting allows for tension, conflict, and unraveling of secrets. Another trope is the clash of civilizations. Westerns often portray conflicts between settlers and indigenous peoples, but today's writers are moving beyond outdated stereotypes. Many modern Westerns offer a more nuanced look at indigenous experiences, the destruction of the land, and the resilience of marginalized communities. For example, Winter Counts by David Helska Wyden follows a Lakota vigilante on a South Dakota reservation, blending crime fiction with Western themes. There's also setting nuance. In your settings, it should be more than just the Wild West. While classic Westerns often take place in the American frontier during the 19th century, the genre has expanded to include new settings and time periods. There's neo-Westerns. These are modern Westerns maintaining the same themes of lawlessness, justice, and survival, but set in contemporary times. Think Yellowstone, or No Country for Old Men, or Hell or High Water. Historical Westerns, whether it's the gold rush in California or the Texas frontier or a small border town, the historical accuracy and rich details bring authenticity to the story. Frontier fiction beyond the United States. Western tropes can be applied to other frontiers, such as the Australian outback. Look to The Drover's Wife by Leah Purcell, or Canadian Wilderness, The Ridge Runner by Gil Adamson. And there's also sci-fi and fantasy Westerns. Blending the Western with speculative elements leads to fascinating stories, like Firefly, The Gunslinger by Stephen King, or Outlawed by Anna North, a feminist dystopian Western. What are some tips for writing a Western that stands out? First, make sure the landscape matters. The setting in a Western isn't just a backdrop. It actively shapes the characters, the plot, and the themes. Whether your characters are fighting the elements, traveling vast distances, or protecting their land, the natural world should feel alive and integral to the story. The next tip is develop complex characters. The traditional Western hero is often stoic and morally upright, but today's audiences crave layered protagonists. Give your main characters internal conflicts, regrets, or a personal code that challenges them. Third tip, challenge traditional archetypes. Consider telling a Western story from the perspectives that were historically overlooked: women, Indigenous people, Black cowboys, Mexican vaqueros, or Chinese railroad workers. These voices bring fresh angles to the familiar tropes. Play with justice and morality. Westerns are often about justice, but what looks like justice depends on who's telling the story. Don't be afraid to question authority, explore moral ambiguity, or show how law and order shift based on power and privilege. Make sure to get the details right. Whether it's cowboy lingo, gun terminology, or period-accurate fashion, small details can make or break a Western. Research is essential, but avoid info dumping. Use these details organically in the story, usually through the POV character's perspective. Next tip, use action with purpose. Westerns often feature gunfights, duels, physical confrontations, but these should serve the story. The showdown is more meaningful when it's the culmination of deeper character states, rather than just an obligatory shootout or a series of one fight after another fight after another fight. You want to pace this like a classic, but write like a modern author. Traditional Westerns often had a slow burn quality, focusing on mood and setting before the action exploded. Today's readers may want faster pacing, but that doesn't mean losing the genre's signature atmosphere. Use sparse, impactful dialogue. The best Western dialogue is often short, punchy, and loaded with subtext. Think of the terse exchanges in True Grit or Deadwood. Every word should feel intentional. Honor the Western myth while subverting it. Readers love the classic feel of Westerns, but also appreciate when authors challenge the myths of heroism and masculinity and manifest destiny. A fresh take on this genre makes for a compelling read. Also, know your audience. Western readers range from diehard Louis L'Amour fans to new audiences discovering the genre through feminist, queer, or BIPOC perspectives. Knowing who you're writing for will shape everything from tone to theme to cover design. Here are some final thoughts. Western novels may be rooted in history, but they're anything but outdated. By reimagining familiar tropes, exploring diverse perspectives, and grounding your story in rich settings, you can craft a novel that feels both classic and fresh. Whether you're writing a cattle drive epic, a revenge saga, or a contemporary cowboy romance, the Western is alive and well. It just needs your unique voice to keep the legend going. Tune in to this YouTube channel next week, where I will give a list of book recommendations featuring Westerns that I have read and other stories that might not be considered Westerns, but which have Western themes. And so you may find some comp titles if you're writing in this genre, or you might find some books to add to your to-be-read list. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. I post new content every week. This is Miranda Darrow, wishing you happy writing.